So thanks for coming, everyone, for this very intimate workshop where you get to observe a very delicate and intimate process that is usually done within closed doors without cameras around. But today we decided to open it up because we believe that there is a lot of value in this process and people can benefit from watching what is done usually in closed doors. Last year we did it for like 20 people, still intimate but slightly bigger. But due to COVID, we have only 5 audience members here. So consider yourself to be very privileged sitting here. So this is Sia Cyrroes. I'll introduce you more in a moment. Maybe something about the nature of the work that we want to open here in this class. So there is this kind of beautiful tension when you work on a story between a story that comes from the inside, that means a personal story that kind of comes from your life, it's very, very close to you, and between a story that comes from the outside, in that sense, folktale or an ancient mythological story that has its history of its own and carry a wisdom that you need to identify within yourself if you want to tell it. I remember when I was still studying theater, and I found this theater kind of teacher. He was really a master, this guy, because he was already in his 80s, so many, many years of experience. And I remember when I went to visit him for the first time, I had to travel in an elevator like to his flat. He used to teach in his flat, and my hands were shaking like in the elevator. Oh my God, I'm gonna work with that guy, you know. And then he closed me. There was this little room where we worked with a soundproof door. He closed the door, and we sat very, very intimately. And the first thing he did was actually he told me, "Close your eyes and count until 1 to 100 and back." That's it. I was thinking he's going to tell me to tell a monologue or I would have to prove myself to him. But just asked me, "Can you count from 1 to 100 and back?" And I did that. And when I opened my eyes, he just told me everything about myself. He could hear through the sounds. And that's in many ways is the beauty of storytelling. There is a story that is constructed from the outside, whether it comes from the inside or from the outside. But there is something else that is communicating as well. And that is very much related to who the person is, the person that is speaking. One of the lessons this man taught me there, it was very interesting. He used to kind of explain things in very simple images. He told me, he gave me a piece of paper, there was a text on it, and he said, "Put it just under your nose, like this." And then he asked me, "Read it." Obviously that didn't work. And then he put the paper far, like as if it was in the end of, kind of behind you, sitting in the back, and I couldn't read it. And then he put it just the exact distance so I could read it. And he said, "This is the same when you work on a text." So some texts, they can be very, very much close to you, right here. They're so close that almost too close for you to create a little distance so you can communicate something that goes beyond just your personal experience. In the sense of the creating of stories, it would very much be apparent when you work on a personal story from your life, because it's experience that you already have. You have a relation with it. There is no need to dig and find the emotional connections at most times. It's already there. Sometimes the work is exactly the opposite. Can I push it slightly further so it can become something that can speak to others as well? And then the other kind of tension is when the story is very far away, an old mythological story like you would hear today. In a moment, Sia Cyrroes will tell us. We're starting from a place where the story is very far away. It's far away, and if we kid ourselves as storytellers that we can immediately create a connection to it and it can be alive and emotional and personal, well, sometimes it happens, but when it does, in my experience, that's a gift of the gods, you can say. But can be a process? Can we create a process where consciously the storyteller follows certain steps and then it opens up inside, and then that text that is very far away, that story that is very far away, is coming closer. And there is a meeting between something very personal and something very old and formed and distant, and that creates magic. So what we would like to do today is exactly that. So we take this very old story, which Sia had prepared, that actually comes from your culture, right, Sia?
Yes.
Yeah. And funny enough, the main character in this story is called
Sia.
Also Sia. So, and when we look at this story, and we will try to see how slowly we can build this connection between Sia that is sitting here to the Sia that had lived maybe how many thousands of years ago?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know, exactly. Maybe never lived. But if the connection does appear, he will live here, in this room. That's the magic of theater when it happens. So I'm very grateful for you that you accepted my offer to come here. It's kind of a tender process, as you can imagine. There is a part in the workshop where some personal questions have been asked in order to open an experience inside the storyteller. So it takes a lot of courage to do that. I'm very grateful for you, Sia. So I just say one word about Sia, and then we will hear the story. Sia is an actor, and I met him in the acting school he's studying at. And from the first moment, there was this click that, how can I say it? He loves to tell stories. It kind of felt like it's in your culture, right? Mm-hmm. Like something old that kind of is waiting for you to be discovered. Yeah. So it's only natural that you're here. So thank you. So, I think we can begin by hearing the story, enjoying the story, and then we stop and engage in this very gradual process, and we will arrive somewhere and then conclude and understand the process through it. You ready to tell a story?
Let's do it.
You were born ready, eh? My friend.
Thank you.
Now you can use the chair or you can stand, whatever feels comfortable for you.
Okay. Prince Sia, he was made out of an affair. His father, the king of Persia, had an affair with a maid, and he didn't want to have anything to do with Sia, so he sent him away to go to the military arts. Now, Sia, when he was young, he learned everything that he had to learn to become a fine prince. He decided, okay, now it's time to show my skills to my father. So he went to the palace. And at the palace, there were 2 lines of servants, and the lines ended at a table, and the table was big, and there was food on it, wine on it, and after that table there were 2 golden thrones. And at one throne sat his father, King Kekavus. Long beard, small eyes, and next to him, an oval face. Long hair, almost touching her ankles, and gray eyes, like ashes that take him in. It wasn't his mother, yet she was the queen, the wife of his father, his stepmother, Sudabe. Now at dinner, Sudabe, she kept playing with her hair, stumbling over the words. She spilled her wine, and she looked at Sia, and she looked at her husband. He was holding a beer in one hand and a chicken bone in one hand. Then looked back at Sia, and he was shaped like a river, small around his waist like a river in the mountains, and wide when it came to the shoulders like a river that banked in the broad ocean. Now she said to her husband, maybe Sia should come to my harem tomorrow. He's a young prince, he's a serious guy, he doesn't want to go to a harem, he's not interested in that. Yeah, but a man knows how to act around other men. But it's when they're around women when the truth will come out. So the next day Sia went to the harem, and it was a beautiful garden. It smelled like flowers. There were people playing sitar music, and there were only women laying on Persian rugs. They were bare feet in white dresses, and they were drinking chai, laughing, drinking wine. And on a golden throne sat Surabe. She came up off the throne, walked up to Sia, kissed his head and said, I thank God 100,000 times for your existence. What was it in that candle's light that opened and consumed me so well? And she said, sit down, go on, have some wine, relax. An intellectual doesn't know what the drunk is feeling. So she sat him down on a Persian carpet and closed the curtains around it. Swear me an oath, you will never try to wiggle out of King Kavus will die. And when that happens, I will turn to you. Value me then as he was wont to do. And slowly, she starts playing with the straps of her dress, undressing herself. And now only covered from the waist down, she moves her hair back, opens her chest, and says, an eye is meant to see things. The soul is here for its own joy. She always looks at her, at the curtains that are closed. He hears the women in the background laughing, the sitar music. Nobody can see them or hear them. And she just keeps going on undressing herself. Undresses the dress over her golden soft legs. And she says, lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They are in each other all along. She looks at the naked body presented for him and says, I'm not your equal. Who is fit for you except for the king? And she says, come on. Don't say something stupid like that. I want to feel young again. Please give me this moment where I feel young for one moment. You would rather throw stones at a mirror, but I am your mirror. And these are your stones. And he says, no. This sin is unworthy of you. You're the shining sun of the king's palace. And he tries to leave, and he gets up, and before he gets out, she starts scratching her face, yelling, screaming, clawing her cheeks. And the king hears, so he enters the harem, opens the curtains, and he sees his wife naked with a scratched face. He says, what's going on here? It was him, Surabe says. Sia, he came in, and he tried to touch me, and I fought him, but he was stronger, and he scratched my face, he tore my clothes off my body, he raped me. Kavus looks at his wife, at his son, walks up to his son, they stand eye to eye, and he grabs his hands, and he smells them. The smell of wood and rope. He goes up to Surabe, smells her hands. The smell of rose water and wine. He just walks away. She yells, well, where are you going? If you don't punish him, everybody will think I'm a liar. But he just walks off. And those months, every night, Surabe would walk in the palace, wondering, thinking, what can I do? What can I do? She was like a cornered animal, vicious. And she came up with a plan. She went to this woman and she said, you're having twins, right? Here, drink this. If you drink this, then your babies will grow healthy and strong. She drank it, and that night, 2 stillborn babies left her body. Surabe took the dead babies, laid them in her own bed, between her legs, and cut herself, making a pile of blood. Now, in the pile of blood and with the babies between her legs, she starts groaning as if in labor. So King Kalvus comes in the room, sees this, and is like, what's going on? And she says, you did this. Your son raped me, and now I had a miscarriage because of him. This is your work. Do you believe me now? Kalvus ponders, walks in the room, doesn't know what to do, and he says, okay, this is what we will do. We will make a big fire. A big, big fire, and the one who can go through the fire, he's the one telling the truth. So they make a fire, the biggest fire you've ever seen. The whole town gathers. And from the palace, Kalvus watches together with Surabe, and they see how Cyrroes appears on his knightly black horse. He looks at the big tongues of flame the fire is spitting out, looks up, looks at his father, and then, with a huge leap, he and his horse gallop into the fire. And of course, they came out, because nothing consumes the truth.
Thank you very much, Cyrroes. Thank you. Maybe we can clap. It's allowed. Great. Beautiful story. Thank you, my friend. So, before we begin and engage in this process, I'd like to ask you first to reflect back one image from the story that really touched you, that you like, that you find engaging, a moment in the story.
I like the seduction, the way he was moving and the build up to it. I thought it was brilliant, and quite rare to see a guy doing that as well. So that stood out, I thought.
He felt quite comfortable.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing how he was just doing it slowly. I was like, whoa.
Which is an interesting point when you see a storyteller enjoys a moment in their story. What happens immediately as a listener? It's like a door opens for us to enter, right? Other images.
I think also the description of his body with the river. He said, I don't know, there was something really, a good illustration. I felt like I was with you.
The waist was, what was it you said? The waist was
small around his waist,
yes,
like a river in the mountains, and then wide when it came to the shoulders, like a river that banked in the broad ocean.
Persian poetry, my friend.
We try.
We try. There's a little Rumi inside.
I hope so.
Yeah. Other images.
I thought it was quite painful to hear how the lengths that she went to prove her innocence, which wasn't, but the cutting and the killing of the babies. Somehow there was a lot of pain. Yeah.
Her character is interesting, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But there was that when you said the cutting of herself. Oh.
Nice. Anything else?
So when the king walked away, I think it was like a moment that was like a tension really suddenly, like he smells the hands and you really don't know what's going to happen. I thought he's going to beat her. And then you said, and then he walked away and you left us like.
Nice. Great, guys. Thanks for the reflection. You want to say something or are you okay? You have something? You don't have to, only if there is something. I don't want to take the opportunity from.
I thought about the moment that the queen sees the similarity between the son and the king, like the wheels of her mind, like thinking, seeing this thing in front of her.
Mm-hmm. Great. Good. So in many ways, this telling was already very engaging, wasn't it? Like there was a lot of great stuff that were there, you know, in terms of expression, and also moments that of personal connection. Right? Did you notice that there were certain moments in the story that suddenly something else arises, but just the words that are spoken or the images? There is something of Siavash, this Siavash, not the character one, that is kind of appearing. Did you start noticing that kind of thing? So that's great, man. So really beautiful telling. And now let's see how we can go there more consciously and even open that up more. The realm of, it's basically a human understanding of the meaning of the story. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we can have a certain meaning in our mind, like the story means this and that, which is an intellectual kind of understanding about life. But for a performer, that's not enough. That kind of intellectual understanding has to be translated into an experience in the body, basically. And where does this experience come from? It comes from a certain relation that the performer has with that understanding, which we kind of uncover in the process. So the first step is the understanding, actually, is the meaning of the story, is the message of the story, what we call the message of the piece. We're looking for a kind of one statement about life, about the experience of being human and alive, that can be kind of captures the essence of the story. Now, one story can have many different meanings, but it cannot have all meanings. It always speaks about a certain particular aspect of life. See? So we're looking for this kind of, so I wonder, like, actually maybe we can start from you. If you had to say, only if some of you have thoughts, if you have to say in one sentence, just like kind of out of the thing, what is the meaning of this story? What would you say? What does it have to say about life?
I mean, the truth is always the truth, but sometimes you could miss it. Sometimes people lie.
Right. Good. Any other thoughts?
I thought about women, like culturally, like how they seem to act, what ways they manipulate people to achieve what they want.
And what if you had to translate it into a meaning about life, what would you say?
I think that automatically I would think that women can manipulate.
Women can manipulate.
And here in this story, it's like it didn't work for her.
Right. So what does it say about manipulation? What does it say about manipulation? What does this story have to say about manipulation of another? What's the destiny of that?
It will never win.
No. Manipulation will end up falling to the ground, right? Something like this. So you see, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, oh, this is what I understand from this story. Now I keep going further until suddenly I have a certain understanding about life. Now both these exist in this story, can you see,
Mm-hmm.
right? One more thought. Any other thought? Someone got something else from it? Okay, let's remain with that for now.
Something like that you can't escape the truth, but that's kind of like...
Yeah, can't escape the truth. Yeah. So we're kind of all speaking about the similar kind of, you added the perspective of also woman, but at the end you ended up in manipulation as well. So manipulation is related to the truth. We are speaking about what is true and what is not, right? That's kind of coming, which is a good sign for you, because that means this is just my clock for to understand the time, which means you have communicated something quite clear. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
The difference between the son and the father, because he was created out of possibly lust and affair, but he didn't make the same mistake or temptation as his father, possibly. So, in a sentence, we don't have to make the same mistakes that were made before us.
Right. There is a transformation there between the character of the father and the son. The son is a better man than his father. Right? So there is another line of meaning there that suddenly exists. And that's also in the story. That's the beauty of it. So one story can have many different messages about life, but it cannot have all messages. So that's great. What was it for you, actually, if you had to say it in a sentence?
The last sentence. Nothing consumes the truth.
Nothing consumes the truth. Right. So now, you also literally said it at the end of the story. That was an artistic choice you made. You know, sometimes you would choose to hide it, not literally say it, and make it kind of land in the mind of the listener as they receive the story. So this is our starting point. This statement is our starting point. This is where we walk and take the further steps. And the first step is kind of still safe. It's like it remains intellectual in some ways, and we will engage in it now a little bit and see what it brings. And then we'll start to take it slightly deeper. So if you only, can you take the ending of the story? Like if I would tell you, tell the ending of the story, where would you start?
I would start at, we'll make a big fire, the king said.
Great. So from that point until the end, I mean, you know more or less the text, right? I mean, maybe some words will change, but if I tell you, tell it, you can tell it, right? Yeah. Great. So we engage in a little conversation, you and I. And then at a certain point, I might tell you, tell the story. And then you just start with...
The king said, let's make a big fire. And they made the biggest fire ever made.
Yeah, great. So, what's the message of the story?
Nothing consumes the truth.
Nothing consumes the truth. But that's really not true, my friend. But it is not true. I mean, maybe in long perspective, you know, but in our life are full of lies. And, you know, people that lie a lot usually end up in very strong positions of power. Have you not noticed that?
Yeah, but it falls.
Well,
like you can build something, but eventually it won't get you to where you want to go to.
But it depends how you look at it. I mean, like when you look at positions of success in life and how people, you know, who are in a higher place of recognition, it's mostly the people that manipulate and lie.
But what does that mean? If you're high, does it mean you're happy? Does it mean you have a good life?
Well, it might not mean that, but it doesn't mean that the truth reveals itself, like you say. You see, the lie still, the lying has consequences, which some of them are things that people really look after, chase after.
But okay, but don't we now see that this, what you're saying, is really not true, because all the lies are coming out. Like all these people on all these important places.
They're not coming out. Like
they are, right? With Me Too and whatever, and everybody. Nowadays, you can't do something like that without people telling, or someone filming something, or someone So the truth does
And
come
yet,
out, right?
yet you look at all the politics in the world and you see the same people being elected over and over. Have you not noticed around us it's even worse than ever? I mean, we live in this little bubble of trying to speak the truth, but the majority, what's happening with that?
Yeah, but okay, so we lie to ourselves.
So just one little comment. So you're being awfully polite about it. Do you notice? You're slightly kind of being the Persian polite. I'll listen to what you say, let it sink in, and then respond politely, right?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Okay.
Like, okay, but you don't have to like overact
No.
like something, but you know, you can cut me if you want. If you feel the impulse to cut me,
Okay.
right? Like I do to you.
Okay.
Yeah? So what were you saying?
No. Then I'm not going to be polite. Fuck what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so the main point is, what do we all want in life, right? We want to be happy. So all these people, you cannot tell me that they are really happy.
I don't know what brings happiness in life.
Yeah, that's a hard question, but I think we all know deep inside that lying is not going to bring that. Because at the end of the day, if you lie all day, you get tired.
But that doesn't mean
Like,
that it's revealed. That doesn't mean it's revealed. You say the truth will always be revealed.
No,
right?
I say like nothing consumes, like nothing. Like at the end of the day,
Tell me the
truth.
story. Go.
Okay, so there was a big fire made, and the whole town gathered around that fire. And Cyrroes, he came with his knightly black horse, and he looked at the big tongues of flame the fire was spitting out. He looked up, and there at the palace stood Sudabe and his father. One last look, a look to the fire, and then with a huge leap, he and his horse galloped into the fire. And of course, they came out.
Make it land here.
Because nothing consumes the truth.
Interesting, right? Like, can you feel like there is something? It's more directed. Like the meaning there is more directed and played over here. Could you notice that happening? Yeah.
Quite powerful.
Yeah. So what was also good about this is that there is a certain wave arising, right, out of our conversation. What was the experience of that for you? So
there's really more energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a way, you also, like, now I also felt a little angry for you. Not, you know, we're discussing and I also get a little angry. So, and then out of that anger you tell the story, and then when I say it, I'm really also trying to convince myself.
Right. But who else?
Like everybody else.
But who else here? I mean, you were having this conversation.
Yeah, of course,
me.
I was.
Right.
You also.
So I'm kind of provoking you until you really want.
Yeah,
I want you to
know,
get that, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice the moment that you were really speaking to me now?
Yeah.
You wanted me to get that. So that's what we're looking for, in a way, which is a slight touch of it. There is no general way of telling a story. That doesn't exist. It's always, I really want to say that to you now. Are you getting it? This. And the story is on top of that. All those images, all those pictures. There's a meeting between two worlds. Right? It's good. So, like you say, anger. Anger, what is anger?
What is anger? An emotion.
Sure.
What is there to say about anger? Like, always your first thought is that it's negative, but it's not, because it's just an emotion.
Right.
If I think about anger, you know, you have this of what anger is and also what it is to me. And to me, it is something that, I don't know, it's like, 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 I get angry fast, but I never show it because I'm the polite Persian guy. So I
well,
don't.
that's not who you are. There is an exterior.
No,
of that,
yeah, exactly, yeah. Like I build that image.
Yeah.
But when I get angry, which is not like it's not common, but when I get angry, I get like 100% angry, and it gets in like.
What is it? What is anger? Let me ask you this question: when you're angry, do you accept the situation as it is?
No.
No, right? We can definitely say that about anger, right? When you're sad, when you're really grieving, do you accept the situation as it is?
No.
I mean, when you really...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I would get there, yes.
Yeah, if the tears open up and like there is...
If I would get there, then you would.
When you're really happy, do you accept the situation?
Yes.
Yes, that's more obvious, right?
Yeah.
When you're angry, you don't accept the situation. Something needs to change, right? This energy arises.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, now, there's an energy constructing a meaning towards me. I need to get that, right? So that's a good starting point. But kind of still intellectual, right? Because we're talking about a meaning which is intellectual, right? Can provoke emotion, but still how personal that meaning is to you right now, really.
Yeah, it's not that personal yet.
Yeah, exactly. So we continue a bit further. So what's the meaning of this story again? What was
Nothing
it?
consumes the truth.
Right. So is it true?
It is true.
Yeah. You know it, that it's true.
I know it.
Yeah. And what does it mean to you? That nothing consumes the truth.
What do you mean? What it means to you? Like
yeah. What does it mean to you?
I know that there have been times where I lied a lot, and at the end of the day, like it's this big parade, but at the end of the day, when I looked to myself in the mirror, then I wouldn't be happy with the guy I was seeing.
And what was that? What did that mean to you? Does that mean to you? Looking in the mirror and not liking what you see, what does it mean to you?
It meant that I wasn't doing... Like, I know there is no right and wrong, and there is no... I was just learning, but it felt like I was a coward. Like I was afraid of telling the truth, and I was
coward.
A coward.
Cowards lie, right? What does that mean to you?
Who wants to be a coward? I think you always unconsciously want to make the people around you proud and yourself. Wasn't doing that.
So, do you notice as we speak the tendency to retreat inside, because it becomes more personal now, right? Now it's like, oh, and I have the retreat. Can you see the retreat? So, as much as you can, without effort, but just do the opposite. You know, maintain actually the contact with me, even when that happens. Because you will see that actually, well, you're sitting, actually by chance, you're sitting in front of a person that is dealing with this issue of coward is a trigger word for me, very strong for myself as well. Exactly. So I just want you to know that. So what does it mean to you, that side? in yourself?
To be a coward?
Well, to look in the mirror and not to like what you see, to hide, not to tell the truth. That's what we're talking about, right?
I felt like shit.
Why? Why?
I keep seeing my dad, he was the one who told me, like, at the end of the day, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror. And it was also like my parents who were the people who kind of, in a way, said it was okay to lie sometimes. And when I, at the end of the day, would look myself in the mirror, I would be very angry and just at them, at myself, but also really angry at them. Because I thought, you know, you had to learn me this, and now I'm feeling all this pain.
Tell me the story from where you are.
From where I am?
The end, yeah, the end of the story.
So a big fire was made. And the whole town gathered around that fire. And Cyrroes, he appeared on his nightly black horse. And he saw the big tongues of flames that the fire was spitting out. And he looked up, and he saw his father, Surabe. One last look. And then, with a huge leap, he and his horse galloped into the fire. And of course they got out. Because nothing consumes the truth.
It's different, right? What's different about this for you, this telling?
I don't feel angry anymore, but sad.
Yeah, it's a different telling. Two ending of stories, completely different meanings underneath them, right? Right. Very nice. Yeah. So it's beautiful work. Just layer by layer, we open it up. Now it becomes much more personal, much more raw, therefore closer to you. And then the kind of final step of this is now, why would I want to tell it to another? Do you see what I mean? Now.
Because you're dealing with the same. And I know that everybody here probably dealt with the same thing one moment in their life.
Anyone here found themselves lying at certain points in their life? Raise your hand if you have found yourself lying. Okay, good. Anyone here ever felt like they're a bit afraid, or like maybe it's not the same for everyone, but if like finding themselves a bit like, oh, maybe I'm a coward. Everyone felt that? Yeah, some of you as well. Still, you know what that means to you now, right? You cannot forget that. You don't need to act it out, you know. It's just there, you know it. We talked about it, you know what it means to you. Yeah, there, that's what it is. The feeling, where is it in your body right now? Here in the gut, it's kind of buried. You're right. We also experience similar. Let's just tell it to us, the ending. And don't worry, if comes any impulse to act something out or to show something, just let it go and keep taking us inside. Go ahead, my friend.
So a big fire was made. And the whole town gathered around the fire. And Cyrroes slowly appeared on his nightly black horse. And he watched how the big tongues of flame the fire was spitting out. He looked up to the palace and saw Surabe and his father. looked back at the fire, and then, with a huge leap, they galloped into the fire. And of course they got out, because nothing consumes the truth.
Nice. Thank you, Sia. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can do this, like, you know, this one. That's a silent form of clapping. Thank you, my friend. What are your thoughts about this?
Always, it's so different because the first time telling, like, if you tell this, when I told the story, the feeling that I feel the most is like excitement and just joy of telling the story. But now it doesn't feel so nice to tell the story, but it feels way more vulnerable and more like you have to be open. Like, I can't, if I would fake it now, yeah. And it's funny because when I think about, like, the joy is not, it's not faking it, but it's not true to the story.
But how much joy can be if a certain of sadness feeling arises around the meaning, but you don't block it down and you just share it with another and get the recognition that they see you and feel the same? How much joy is there in a moment like this? Have you ever tried that?
No.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is joy in there as well.
Yeah.
The joy doesn't come from, it comes from meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the moment there is still this impulse when those feelings arise to put them down, control them, manage them. But the more the work will progress and certain kind of ways of being comfortable with a meaning that is kind of hurts the gut a bit more, the joy will be around that, because there is joy in that as well. A kind of, my friend, I'm giving you this meaning because I know how it feels. But I'm looking at you and we meet and then life. So this kind of work, like we do here, is a preparation work. This is work that you do behind the curtain at home. When you work on the story, you engage in this kind of process. And the moment you sit here on this chair, you forget. Now we do it the other way around. So of course it's like you do it in front of the public now while we're asking questions, which is incredible, by the way. I must salute you. So how it would work in preparation is this being done behind the curtains on your own, or with another partner, or with an acting or storytelling partner, where you engage in these kind of processes. And then it's alive in you. It's really kind of in your system, in your body, and you forget all about it. And you sit here, and like you say, you know, that excitement, that joy would come, the meeting, and this will be there naturally. It just comes out in the moment. And suddenly you find yourself surfing the story in different ways that you would not imagine. Do you want to say something before I release you from this chair?
I want to thank you, and I want to say, yeah, I'm thinking about it now, and it's really true, because I'm working with you now, and I really have noticed that when we work on something personal, whenever I tell a story, and you have worked on it personal, like you made it personal, then you don't have to think about it anymore. Then it just appears. Because you already thought about it, and it's in the back of your head, just like the text is in the back of your head. You don't have to think about it anymore. So I was thinking about that. But thank you for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Sia. My friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's been almost an hour. So thank you for being here and watching this. Is there anything you want to ask or say before we conclude this this session, this masterclass, however you call it? Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly how to ask it, but when he sits in front of us already, and the audience is always different, like, and you, I believe, in your position, you see how a little bit how are we reacting to your story. How do you bring it, like, how does it affect the way you tell that story in that moment, in that specific day?
100%. So this kind of work only works never in isolation. So Sia is in vulnerable position here because we're doing work that is done as preparation, but he's doing it in front of a public. So there are moments of internalization where he goes inside, you know, and process things as a natural part of this process. But the way this is working, that the moment I am here and I'm telling a story, my attention is on one place, and that's on you. Like, you, there is no audience. What is audience? It's a collection of individuals sitting here. And the understanding that you're not external to me, you're an experience inside me right now. And that's true. If I look at you, I get a feeling. If I look at her, I get a different feeling. If I look at him, I get a different feeling. And it's a constant kind of relationship with what is arising in me in the moment and being expressed back to you through my words of the story, you see? So 100%. Now, if you prepared well, that meaning would be inside you anyway, and it will be so strong that even if you're like kind of really, really joyful now all over the place, and you know, it does affect me, there's still something there that is still there that I need to share with you at this point, you see? Yeah. Something else? Okay, guys. Thank you very much. We can keep discussing that a little bit in the other room, maybe have under the regulations, a little drink together. But for now, I would like to thank Sia very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here in this process.